Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, inshallah ta'ala, we'll talk about abuse of religious symbols in the media. Now, in the media age, we are all residing in a media age. You know what is a media age?
Yes.
We have Twitter and everything today, all right? But then, as this morning you learned, you have to make use of all the facilities that we have at our disposal to be able to present Islam. We have to do that. We can't say, oh, it's haram and so on. We have to make use of that, in the best way possible. Okay? So in the media age, religion can no longer control its own story or its own symbols. We're not able to do that. All right? So now we spoke to you and told you what are the symbols of the different religions. What is the symbol of Christianity?
Cross.
Why is it the cross the symbol of Christianity?
Crucifixion.
Because
it is the main idea of Christianity that Jesus died for
on the cross. Okay. So we will go along and find and show you how it had been abused in the media. All right. Now the Jewish symbol here. This is what? What is this? Yeah, but why the Star of David? It's a six-sided compared to ours five-sided. The star in Islam is five-sided, but this is six-sided. All right, they said it was to do with the shield, that when he was fighting, the shield, he had that on the shield. All right, and so on. There's different interpretation of that. You can see here. All right, and then they explain to you what it did, the different sides of the star represent and so on. Okay, so the Star of David is a symbol most commonly associated with Judaism. All right, it is supposed to represent the shape of King David's shield, or perhaps the emblem on it, either the shield itself, the shape, or it was the emblem on the shield. Jewish scholars have attributed deep theological significance to the symbol. For example, some note that the top triangle strives upward towards God, while the lower triangle strives downward towards the real world. Some note that the intertwining, you saw how they are, the intertwining makes the triangles inseparable, like the Jewish people. So they are very united, if you know the Jewish people. Even in South Africa, the Jews always align with Israel. You know, in the conflict that was going on in Gaza, there were letters being written in the newspaper, but the Jews supported what was being done there, although they were bombarding women and children. It did not deter them from saying, no, we support Israel. All right, some say that the three sides represent the three types of Jews, the Kohanim, the Levites, and the Israelis. After several, what happened and how did they abuse it? All right, how did they abuse the symbol? All right, we're talking about what happened in 2008. After several German states introduced sweeping bans on smoking in restaurants and bars, an event planner called DMP started offering the T-shirt for sale on his website. So you know we're talking about media and how you can do sale now through internet. You don't have to go physically. You can just put it on the internet. People can shop. All right. So this is what I tried to do. The T-shirt had been designed to highlight what it called the disgraceful exclusion of smokers by society. So what happened? They wanted to ban people from smoking. All right. So now the people who smoke, ban them from in certain areas and so on. But they thought it was discrimination being done to them. They have a right to do what they want to. If they are smokers, they should be allowed to smoke. So then they designed this. All right, they designed a T-shirt here, but this is important here, the six-sided Star of David. All right, so now the Jew, all right, the shirt featured yellow Star of David similar to the one Jews were forced to wear under the Nazis. You know, when they were going to be put in the concentration camp to be identified as the Jews, they had to have the Star of David, and then they were led into to be killed. Okay, the word smoker was written instead of Jew. So instead of Jew, smoker was written inside here. So now this DMP, to sell the T-shirts showing how they are now discriminating against people who smoke. But instead of Jew, they put smoker. All right? So now the Jewish group responded with outrage. And after a few days, the website carried a statement that it regretted the shirt and had angered and offended people. None of the T-shirts was actually sold. So they didn't sell anything. So this is the pressure that the community can put. You know, the pressure that they can put. And we'll find out only the Jews, you know, and perhaps other religions also, if they use pressure, they'll be able to stop them from abusing the symbol of their religion. Now, this is a Christian symbol here. And who is on the cross? All right, Madonna, when she went on a world tour, this is what she did, okay? All right, the cross reminds Christians of the sacrifice of their Savior. The Roman symbol of death becomes for them the symbol of Jesus Christ. All right, Jesus Christ's victory over sin and death and of victory in him. Religious groups have reacted furiously after Madonna appeared hanging from a cross and wearing a crown of thorns during her latest world tour in 2006. That was what happened. All right, you see that crown. You can't see it properly, but anyway, there's a crown. She's wearing a crown and on the cross.
This is alive?
It was live. She went around live singing like that and used the cross, and this is how she promoted herself. All right, the sold out it was her confessions tour, world tour, all right, which went to from major cities in the US, Canada, Europe, Japan, was the highest grossing tour ever by a female artist in history. All right, then what happened? So imagine how much they grossed for that tour. There was opposition from the Pope and so on, but it didn't materialize. It didn't materialize. The event went on. Now we come to the Islamic symbol. We say it was not the star and the crescent, but what it is. What is the symbol of Islam? Calligraphy. So the Arabic calligraphy. So what happened here on Nike? What it looks like? It looks like Allah. All right, Allah, and they put it on the shoe. So now in America and so on, I don't know whether you're aware of it, they have the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame, they put all the stars, they put a star and they put the name of the important person, all these stars and so on, they put it, and then it's on the floor, all right? It's on the floor. So then Muhammad Ali, you know Muhammad Ali Clay? Right? So what happened to him when they wanted to honor him? And they said that we're going to put your name on the Hall of Fame. What did he do? Why did he put it on the wall? He said that. You see, what he said is very true. He said, my name is the name of my Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. It cannot be on the floor because we trample it with our feet when you walk on it. You know, in the West, it might be different than the way we visualize things. So we won't put things on the floor and then walk on it. All right? Because it's a disgrace to do that. Okay? But for them, it's okay. So he said, you cannot disgrace my Prophet ﷺ's name by putting it down. So you have to put it. So it's the only star which is on the wall. You know, because of him. The only star which is on the wall. I don't know whether you're aware of the fact that when Iran took the hostages in the time of Reagan, yes. All right, in the time of Khomeini, Imam Khomeini. So what happened is that during that time, they put the American flag on every hotel in Tehran. they put the American flag just at the entrance so that people can trample on it and go inside. So even the photograph of Reagan also was put down. So people, when they come, the guests, when they come to the hotel, they trample it. This is the way we look at things, but it's not the way the West look at things, you see. So this is something for us to understand. So now this was considered to be, although they denied, they said, no, this is just a symbol, but it's nothing to do with Allah. But there was so much pressure from the Muslims, that this, you cannot do that. Okay? So what happened? Yeah. So Nike introduced, it was called Air. If you look at it here, you say it was Air written, A-I-R. But you see A-I, A-I-R. But it was like Allah. You see? Just like Allah. So they didn't accept this. The Muslims said, no, this is too close to the name Allah. And you cannot abuse that because you're walking on the name itself, on the name of Allah. So they said, no, we shouldn't do that. Okay? So then by June 1997, it took the following steps. Apologize to the Islamic community for any unintentional offense to their sensibilities, implemented a global recall for certain samples, so they recalled everything, diverted shipments of the commercial products in question from sensitive markets, so throughout the Middle East where Muslims were, they were not allowed to be sold there. Discontinued all models with the offending logo, so that logo was removed, and then implemented organizational changes to their design department to tighten scrutiny of logo design. So they took a new step now. Before we pass any, before we use any logo, we must make sure that it doesn't affect the sensitivities or sentiments of people, the sentiments of other people. And then took measures to raise the internal understanding of Islamic issues. So they had to train the people working for them about Islam. And then they donated $50,000 for a playground at an Islamic school and recalled about 38,000 shoes and had the offending logo sanded off. So it was taken out. Now we come to the Hindu symbol. It's Om. Om Shanti Om, they say. Peace. Shanti is peace. Om is the first breath, they say, that was taken. The first breath that was taken is Om, so it signifies the divine breath to bring about all creation in the world. Okay? So now, what they use, on the cigarette pack, they put Om on it. So why was it a disgrace to the symbol of Hinduism to have it on a cigarette pack? Why was it a disgrace?
They don't want the divine first breath to be a smoking or a tobacco.
All right. So what is evil about smoking? What is evil about smoking? Or is it okay?
No, it's killing people.
It's killing people. Or they thought that if they put Om, then people would buy. So they were worried about that, you see, because you put that, then it means, and then also, there are so many brands of cigarettes. Now you put this here, then you're going to show that this is superior than the other brand. So people must buy this brand. So that's why they were against it. All right. But it took a long time before they succeeded to remove that. All right. So this happened in 2007. Om, the auspicious symbol of Hindus, revealed by millions, was on the packaging of tobacco manufactured by Patel Products and labeled as Om Special Pandapuri Tobacco number 1. Right, after 2 years of untiring efforts, it took them 2 years, where the Muslims and the Jews in same day they managed to, within one night they managed to stop the sale of that. And the Muslims took a bit of time, but the Hindus took 2 years before they could actually remove that. Now what happens also when you talk about media, so abuse of religious symbols, and also intrusion on the privacy of people. This is what happens. The media, they intrude on the privacy of people. So is it true or is it not true? You know what is privacy?
Yes, it's true.
So, but do they have a right to intrude on the privacy of people? Why they don't have a right? The media, does the media have a right to intrude on your privacy? It's yes and no. No, why?
We don't want anybody to see or to know about something private for us.
Alright, but what is private for you? If you, for example, an important person in society, so everything that you do is no more private because you're a public figure. You see, that is why they think that it's not intruding on the privacy of people, you see? In a way, you're right, if you're a normal human being. But once you become a public figure in society, then you must be careful of whatever you do. Because you cannot control what the media will do. And this is what happens to many of these celebrities, many people who own positions in society. You know, their privacy are actually being intruded upon. So is it good to intrude upon the privacy of people in public?
Freedom of privacy. So in terms of the freedom of privacy, looking at the media at times they take photographs of people maybe in their backyards, in their swimming pools, wearing close to nothing. So that is not only invasion of privacy, but it is invasion of a constitutional right. But their rights as a media, they are protected. But you see now the government looks at the rights of the media over the rights of the civilians, and that is very wrong.
So what do you think in South Africa itself? Is there a problem to intrude on the privacy of people, public figures like President Zuma?
Yeah.
So what happened? He couldn't control that.
You see, the government itself is controlling the media. So they choose to intrude on whoever they want to intrude, and they put there on the newspaper, on the television, whatever they want the public to see. But there are more worse things which they can put there, but they are not doing it because they are protecting the innocent people who are holding the media.
Just what you're saying, okay? President Zuma is the president of the country.
Yes.
So you say the government control the media.
Yes.
And they portray only what the people want, what they think is nice for the people to see, they see.
Yes.
But you've seen in the paper how they project President Zuma. Okay, but you know Shapiro, the cartoon of Zuma? Everywhere there's a shower head on his head, and they have not been able to do anything about that. Okay, they have no control. They couldn't. He even wanted to take him to court, and then finally dropped that. But this is the problem that we find. But you see now what I want to tell you. If you are a public figure, then you must be able to maintain your dignity in society. You mustn't do things that you're not supposed to do. So it's good if the media intrudes because you're a public figure. We put you there in a position as a minister, head of state, so you must be careful because if you falter along the way, then we're going to expose you. You know, this is important. So that's why it's a two-sided thing. Whether it is right for them to intrude in your privacy, but also since you're a public figure, then they have every right for them to be able to point out what you are doing is wrong. Media says it's not the right of privacy that you have, but what we are trying to do is to make people aware of what is going on in the community. So as the brother says, you are the stewardship, you know, if you are in a position of authority, some people you're supposed to guide people, so you're not supposed to do things that are against what is meant to be done as a good leader, and so on. Okay, so media intrusion, so newspaper more likely than television to intrude privacy of people. Some newspapers like the UK tabloids rely heavily on reporting gossip and exposing wrongdoings, especially of a sexual nature. I don't know when you came here, I'm not sure whether you've heard about a minister in UK who had a selfie of himself. You know selfie? Yeah. He was naked, so it went around. But then he resigned. He resigned. Imagine he resigned because of that. He resigned. But in the third world country, this doesn't happen. In Africa, it doesn't happen. People don't resign. But he resigned because he thought he was not supposed to do that, so he resigned. But we know many cases in African countries, the leader may be doing something which is not right, morally right, but they still remain in power. Okay? Erring figures of authority, priests, teachers, lawyers, and politicians are targets. So all the people that have a position of authority, they will be targets of the media. All right? So, and we say who they are. They are teachers, lawyers, politicians, and the priests also. Now, as far as the priest is concerned, what is happening in the world today? As far as the Catholic priests are concerned, what is happening? And talking about the media again, is there a campaign against them? In what way?
One of the recent reports is that one of the folks or the bishop, they are practicing too much of homosexuality. And now the media, we get all these things from the media. And of course, it's impinging on the right to privacy of that particular person. And on the other hand, it's important that for any person who is regarded to be a spiritual figure within the community or of the international spiritual figures such as Pope, possibly he represents the whole of Roman Catholics. And therefore it's a good thing for the people to know if that then has been investigated and detected, that it has to be reported so that people know this, we are not led by actually a spiritual person, but a guise of what appears to be spiritual.
Okay, it wasn't the Pope, in fact. It was all the bishops or, but not this is, the Pope was not accused of that. All right? And then the other thing is, why is it a problem within Catholicism? Why is that homosexuality a problem? Why is it a problem? But why especially Roman Catholics?
You find that the Roman Catholics, they call them the brothers. Yeah. So you find that these people do not get married.
Yeah, so it's celibacy, the vow of celibacy. They take the vow of celibacy. You understand? So they make a vow, they take a custom that I'm not going to get married. So I'm not going to engage in sexual, in anything to do with sex. But unfortunately, they do that. So they break the vow. They broke the vow. And then, now what happens, the media is not doing something that is happening today. Something that happened 20 years ago, 26 years ago, is coming out now. Because at that time, they could not speak out. They could not say all these things. So they're coming now and say, the people are old. One is 80 years old. So now it's going to be brought up trial. And there's the first time the Pope has initiated a trial within the Vatican for one bishop who actually abused so many young people. All right, legitimacy for intrusion. What the public may be interested in may not necessarily be in the public interest. Now we have to understand that. When you read the paper, it's not necessarily what you're interested in that it will be for everyone to consume. Okay? It may, however, be argued that social solidarity is ensured by moral appeal to collective agreement on ways to live, and hence love cheat, corrupt people, etc., ought to be exposed. All right? So something we read about corruption, it may not, when I read the paper, I say, oh, David, doesn't affect me. So I brush it aside. But then there are certain things that will be relevant to other people. Okay? In terms of privacy, this moral approach does not easily separate off the private from the public. So the private and the public, you cannot actually make a distinction between them. The idea of public interest is extended to include private behavior. So public interest will be all the people who are in public, all public figure, their private lives will be in the public interest because they hold position of authority in society. The problem in the public interest, anything that is published and going to sell is generally regarded to be in public interest. You must understand that the newspaper, they want to make money. So the front line, where they have the headlines, they will make sure that it's something that is going to attract people. So you put that, they will buy the newspaper. All right? So they don't worry about anything. The money is the main thing. But are all stories that are published in the public interest? Are all things that are published in the public interest? Not necessarily. Okay, so now we'll see some examples. The Burning Man. This happened in South Africa. It's a Mozambican chap here. There was what you call xenophobia. Xenophobia means you have the fear of foreigners. Because these foreigners come here, they take our work, they take our jobs. All right, so they burned him alive. All right, they burned him. So now, was this in public interest? If you see this, it was in the paper, in a newspaper. Was this in the public interest?
Yes.
Why was it in public interest?
Show people that, this is what will happen.
All right, but then what about the family? You had a wife and children, seeing the father being burned, and look at the policemen just walking around. They doing nothing to actually throw on him anything to save him from being burnt alive, and he died. He was burned alive. So there was the privacy of the family. And they said this is important. The mother, the wife, even his mother, the children, and so on. So there was insensitiveness towards the family, the privacy of that person, and they exposed it publicly here. Why? Because as he says, it was to make the people feel in South Africa that this is not the way we should react to foreigners. All right, this is the message why they did it. Okay, maybe right or wrong, but this is why they did it. And then this is another one. You remember the Olympics in Beijing in 2008? The footprints, if you must have watched. Did you watch the opening of the Beijing Olympics? And there was a giant footprints. All right? So this was something that the whole world, they were thinking, and it was something great, that the Chinese people have managed to accomplish that. But this was all dampened. And as the ceremony got underway in 2008, with a dramatic drum countdown, viewers watching at home and on giant screens inside the Bird's Nest National Stadium watched as a series of giant footprints outlined in fireworks proceeded gloriously above the city from Tiananmen Square. But then what happened? What did they not realize was that what they were watching was in fact computer graphics. It was not real. All right, but they were exposed by the media. Meticulously created over a period of 12 months, inserted into the coverage electronically at exactly the right moment. So at the opening, they did that. All right, so the fireworks were there for real outside the stadium, but those responsible for filming the extravaganza decided in advance it would be impossible to capture all the 29 footprints from the air. As a result, only the last visible from the camera stands inside the bird's nest was captured on film. The trick was revealed in a local Chinese newspaper, the Beijing Times, at the weekend. So they exposed them. So he said it wasn't great what they did. It was all, it was doctored. What do you call it? It was doctored. All right, then we have another one, the same Olympic thing. Olympic girl, seen but not heard. So Beijing, China, a little girl and her song captivated millions of viewers during the opening ceremony of the Beijing Olympics. But what they saw was not what they heard. All right. Games organizers confirmed that Lin Miaoke or whatever, who performed Ode to the Motherland as China's flag was paraded Friday into Beijing's National Stadium, was not singing at all. Lin was lip-syncing to the sound of another girl, 7-year-old young Pei, who was heard but not seen, apparently because she was deemed not cute enough. So these are the photographs of so the one who was singing was actually this one. But you see the teeth and all, she was not pretty. And the one who was made to be singing was this one. So they put that one and they hid this one. Right? This is what they did. So that was not right for them to do it. But they thought, it's an international affair, so we must try to camouflage that and make it, sound good. So we put this girl here. But what happened to her? By doing that, what happened to her?
She gets famous.
She gets what?
Famous.
No, she becomes famous, but not her.
Disappointment. She gets hurt.
Disappointment, but what does it cause? Psychological trauma and everything. So psychologically, she has been affected. Okay, and then we had the 90th birthday of Mandela. All right, so this is Nelson Mandela, the late Nelson Mandela, 90th birthday. So in the Sunday Times, so we know who is Nelson Mandela, an icon in South Africa, in the world, and so on. But this is what they did. So they put the photograph there, and then they tell us that the family feud. And they say about when he dies, what will happen to his property. Then they say only two people are going to get, and that is the wife, Samora Machel, and then the other one is the grandson, all right? So Madizikele Mandela and the two daughters stayed away from the party despite personal pleas from Mandela, said the paper. So she did not, the first wife did not attend it. Now, was this in the public interest? You know who he is, and then you put that in the paper. They could have done away without putting it, but they still put it in the paper. So they did not get away. Mandela did not get away. Now we talk about social importance instead of public interest. This will differentiate between that which the public is interested in and what is in the public interest. Social importance would imply we might need to know, but not necessarily need to know. All right, so we don't have to know about Mandela, the inheritance of Mandela, who's going to inherit it and so on. It's not in our interest. All the people would like to know. We know that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the West. Despite 9/11, the fastest growing religion. And you know what happened in 9/11? They say after 9/11, the Quran, copies of the Quran, went sold out all over America and England and in Europe. It was really after 9/11. The West has many stereotypes and misconceptions about Islam that are due to the media, prejudice, and ignorance. What is stereotype? Do you understand the term stereotype?
The image.
The image that but it's not the image. It's not your image. Yes.
To judge people before
You even know. Yeah, it's the image that they projected. Although you like it or you don't like it, but they have a certain stereotype about you are Muslim, then you are a terrorist. All right, so this is the way they look at it. Islam is often looked upon as extremist, terrorist, or fundamental. In many cases, the media reports about Islam are incorrect due to ignorance. This is one of the reasons why the West often hates Islam. In contrast to what many Westerners think of Islam, Islam is a peaceful religion which does not promote any forms of uncalled for fighting or terrorist actions. Stereotypes about Islam are not new to Western culture. Problems can be traced back 1400 years ago. At that time, Islam and Christianity were involved in the Crusades in the 1100s, and in the Ottoman and Moorish control in Europe. Islam spread quickly to the West and started to threaten the position of the Christian church and the ruling class. The Western elites, mainly the governments and the churches, then became highly involved in seeing the negative images were presented about Islam. As a result, not only were battles fought against Islam, but also a war of words was initiated to make sure that Islam would not have any converts or sympathizers in the West. These kinds of actions and feelings that the West had long ago still seem to be the case in the West today. Today, the West, with little or no understanding of Islamic history, has identified a new enemy, a new demon that has replaced the red menace of the Cold War, that is radical Islam. This radical Islam, a stereotype common to Western thought, portrays Muslims as fundamentalists or potential terrorists. Some of these ideas that the Western people have about Islam are due to the mass media of the West. Reporters who cover the Muslim world often know very little details about it. The media then develops a distorted image of Islam that Western culture adopts. A major factor which contributes to Islamic stereotyping in the West due to the media ignorance of selecting the words that describe Muslims. Some common names heard or seen in the news about Muslims are extremists or terrorists. These words are misleading and are mainly anti-Islamic. The media rarely uses more neutral terms such as revivalists or progressives. The Western media also creates the idea that Muslims are returning to Islam. So they say they are returning to Islam. This is not true in most cases because most Muslims have never left Islam in the first place. Islam has always been a big part of their lives. A more accurate and just way to describe this idea is to say that there is a revival of Islam and it is becoming more and more influential to everyone. Labeling Muslims as fundamentalists, anyway, we know about what is happening and so on. Western media is also very influential to its audiences in making negative Islamic stereotypes such as assertion that all Muslims are fundamentalists. The term fundamentalist actually is a term that is interpreted by the media to mean extremist. A fundamentalist, in fact, only represents a normal Muslim who follows his or her religion. Now we have to understand when you say all Muslims are supposed to be fundamentalists, because the fundamentals of Islam are the base of religion. You cannot be a Muslim unless you uphold the fundamentals of Islam. So we are all fundamentalists in that respect. But when we say fundamentalists in the Western way of understanding it, is that we are fanatic. All right? I don't know whether you remember when in 9/11 in Pakistan there was the Pervez Musharraf. He was the president. All right? So he came on TV and then they were asking about the fanatics or fundamentalists and so on. So he had a glass of wine in his hand and he said, I'm a Muslim, but I drink. So how can you be a Muslim when you drink? It's against the fundamental of Islam. He tells you mustn't drink. So this is how they try to say, that you must not be strict about Islam. You can be a Muslim, but don't be strict. Don't follow every dictate of what Islam is telling you. Now, the other thing you have to understand is why they have a problem with us as Muslims. Why does the West have a problem with us as a Muslims and label us as fundamentalists? Why? What is the problem? Yes, brother.
They may think that Islam is too strict and they want to feel freely in their life, so that might be against their notion of life.
You mean we should be do whatever we want to? Islam is trying to control you.
Yeah, for example, if you say to a Western person, if you became Muslim, you have to pray 5 times a day. They will say it's too much. It takes my time. We are caring about our time. So, they don't care about this. It's just like an example.
For me, I don't think that those two countries have a problem with Islam, but I think that they need to have an enemy. After the Cold War, after the Soviet Union collapsed and all that happened, we have no more enemy. The Western countries they need to have an enemy because they need to get what they want. If they have no one to fight, if they have no one to do any stuff with it, how can they get what they want? So I guess that they don't have a problem with Islam. They just, from my point of view, they're just taking these radical Islamic groups as an excuse to do whatever they want to do.
Okay, so this is what happened. But then the other thing that when you talk about